I ask for the truth on behalf of Frank Perez concerning career issues. Will he be going into sales partnership, and will he become prosperous? And ask this in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to the crow, the carrier of souls from darkness into light. And we'll just place the tarot over just up to there. I think you just about to see that there. And I'm going to deal out 7 cards. Effectively, you could say, in a way, it's a 3-card spread, but it's 2 for the past, 3 for the present, and 2 for the future. It works like this. The first 2 for the past is the first one represents the distant past. You could say that the distant past influence, call it that. Then the next one after that is the recent past, so that's the recent past influence, just there. And then the next cards deal with the present. So we have the next, we have 2, 3, 2. So the next 3, as you would say. We have the present influence. That's now, of course. And then the next one is the present obstacle. In the Celtic spread, that's usually the second one drawn with the present, and then it goes across like that, as if to be overshadowing the present. But we just place that next to it there. And then the next card is the present outcome, or the present outlook, as you would say. Suppose you say not the overall result, but the sort of like a final result for the present. And then finally, the final 2 cards are the immediate future influence and the final result or overall outcome, just there. So that's we've got a nice bit of something going on there, haven't we? So just suppose neaten the rest of the deck. We don't need that now. We've got that. Ooh, I'll just wet my whistle, and then we'll. So if you've got your cup of coffee there, then that'll come in handy. So let's see what's going on here. Of course, the question was a career issue, and it sort of comprised of 2 questions in a way, didn't it? Will you be going into business partnership with a certain person, and then of course will it be prosperous? Effectively, although you actually asked if you were going to become a multi-millionaire from it. So we'll just see what's going on. Let's see what happened, or what the distant past, what was going on then. So I'll get the first card out for you there, Frank, and right way back over here, and we'll just let's pull that one out, and then we'll just bring it forward now, and then we'll just flip that card nice and slowly, not to disturb its energy or anything, just to see what was going on just here. And notice there we have the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords. Crowley calls the Three of Swords the Lord of Sorrow. Because this is the distant past, this could go back quite a while. In relation to your questions, of course, or your main question as is. It's pointing to a lot of pain and grief that you experienced quite a while back. I don't know what this is about, but certainly we can grasp that whatever it was, it hurt. I don't know about a major disappointment from a financial point of view. I don't know about that. That would be more the Five of Cups that would imply that. But certainly, we're talking here of it could be the loss, as in a death of a relative, in the sense of you sort of promised that relative that you. Why am I sort of getting this? As though it's way back, you promised that relative that you would make something of yourself, and although they're not here now, you still are hell bent on doing that. Now that's just something that that's coming to my mind. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is actually that, but it's that sort of thing I'm getting vibrating here as I'm just looking at just that. It's very strange, isn't it? I want to pull the next card, and this will say what's been going on just recently. This will sort of it could be the result of the recent past, or because this one is when we normally do 3 cards. This is the recent past in the sense of about a moon phase behind, about 3 or 4 weeks or so ago. So what we'll do, we'll just pull this one out here, and we'll just bring that forward there for you, and then we'll just flip that card again, nice and slow, nice and steady, not to disturb the energy. And notice there you've got the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords. The swords represents the element of air. 5 is loss. Crowley calls the Five of Swords the Lord of Defeat. This tends to follow on that sort of theme. The crow's magic here tends to follow along that sort of theme, as though a lot of confusion going on over the past 3 or 4 weeks or so, which has caused a lot of distress and so on. I was going to focus on I don't know if you noticed there, the path of light and darkness, like the chessboard going off into the distance, forward into the distance. That symbolises the path of light and darkness, and of course you try and walk on the light squares, a bit like that Michael Jackson thing where he's walking on the thing, they light up and he steps on them, and it's a similar sort of thing to that, where you have to try and step on the light ones, but now and again you'll slip, and you will step on a black one, a dark one. And that's just sod's law. That's just the way things are. How would you know what black was if you didn't know what white was, and vice versa? How do you know what the light was if you didn't know what the darkness was? But it seems to be as though your past, from the distant past up to recently, has been rather dark. Although really there's no reason for it to be, is there really? In that sense, really, there's no need for it to be. I noticed with the recent past with the, I think it's the rider. It's like a rider weight sort of inspired thing, isn't it? With the heart that's split there, just indicating that yes. Like I say, I still keep coming down to this as though a broken heart has something to do with it, and it's like as if you've been trying to make amends, but it's led you into confusion. I mean, you said you've got all these friends on, is it Facebook and whatever, but obviously you're coming up to the maximum that you can have. I think you said you can have 5,000 friends or something. I've got just over 5 friends, and I can't remember who they all are, but it seems to be but of course it's more followers, isn't it, really, than friends in that sense, which is the idea behind it. And of course, what you're saying about you were saying in an earlier one-to-one conversation we had there that you were sort of selling on Amazon and things like that, and trying to get this online store going, whatever. And even though just with the recent past here, maybe that's the confusion, where the confusion and the distress has come, where it's I'm still looking at this 3 of Swords though. I'm still looking at the grief, the pain there, as if your heart was broken right at the, it's based upon this broken heart right back then, and it's led to confusion because you don't want to let this person down, although this person is now in the Summerlands, as you would say, is now in a better place on the other side, or has transitioned over. Nevertheless, you don't want to let them down. I don't know who this is, but I still got that. I don't know why. It's just something that I've got. Maybe now I've got the idea in my head. Even if it's wrong, it'll stay there. I want to see what's going on now with this card here. We're into the present now. These 3 cards here at present, aren't we? So let's see. Let's just see what's going on there, shall we? I'll just take a nice sip of that coffee there. It's nice to do readings really in the small hours, because we had a really hot day today. I think they said it's the warmest May Day bank holiday on record. So of course May night or May Day night's a bit cooler, isn't it? You can, well, get out this next card now. This card represents the present. This is exactly like an event that's happening now. This is now. This energy is what's the vibration, the energy that's vibrating now, isn't it? So let's just see what that is. Well, I'll just flip the card nice and slow again, as we said, nice and steady. And oh, notice here you've got a Major Arcana card. What's one of those, I hear you ask? Well, you say you've had quite a few readings already in the past, so you may be familiar, but for those who aren't, we'll let them into it. You've got the High Priestess. The High Priestess, of course, is a Major Arcana energy. We have two decks in the tarot, don't we? We have the Major Arcana and the Minor Arcana. With the Three of Swords and the Five of Swords, both airy energies there. That's more to do with creative and transmissive powers, isn't it? Swords. Any number between two, the numbers 2 and 3 are to do with the element of air, so you could say the airy part of air there, and also, I suppose, the numbers 4 to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, those numbers are to do with water, so you can say that's the watery part of air, mental. So it's not just that the recent past was creative and transmissive powers of, and it sort of changed recently into mental and moral qualities of creative and transmissive powers. As if you feel as though maybe just recently, why I still sort of go to this, you've let somebody, you feel as though you've let somebody down or whatever. It's that. But we're on to the present with the Major Arcana energies. With the Minor Arcana energies, you have power to change them. You have the Major Arcana, which is the first 22 cards. That was the main esoteric deck, wasn't it? The original tarot deck. I used to only use that at one time. I still will, if I can help it. It's just I've only got into a bad habit of using the old deck. But so you got the first 22 Major Arcana, and then of course the 56 Minor Arcana. When you take out the 4 Cavaliers or the 4 Knights, the 4 Princes is in the Crowley deck, as then you're left with the 52 cards, which is, as we know, are the where your playing cards come from. And the Joker in the pack, of course, is the Major Arcana card, the Fool. And you have 2 of them, don't you, normally, just either side, just to protect the deck, or whatever. In this deck, as you know, with the Major Arcana, it points to a major event, a major situation. So, as we can say, so far, with the 2 Minor Arcana, with the distant and recent past being that of a minor energy, you had power to change that. But with a major Arcana energy, you don't have power to change it. You still have choices. You can still do what you want, but you don't have power to change anything. It's more of a permanent fixture type thing. And as we can see so far, the most important or most prominent or major event that's taking place so far is what's happening now. The High Priestess, everything that's feminine, she represents the Moon Goddess. She's actually the chief witch, the circle, and when you call it the 4 corners, call it the 4 watchtowers or whatever, she's the witch, the chief witch that calls them up, and she's the head of the circle. Whereas your magician, he is the witch at the altar, isn't he? It's a similar sort of thing. The High Priestess she's a necromancer, she's a seer. She uses her intuition. In this particular case, she seems to be depicted as an eagle, doesn't she? The eagle represents spirit in the sense of listening to your higher self. Tuning into the feminine side. I always say when I'm doing the cards here, the readings, I'm tuning into the woman within. If you get what I mean. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? But it just indicates really that right now you've been having to use your intuition, go with how you feel. If he feels like, if he sort of feels like a duck in the sense that it waggles like a duck, it waddles like a duck, walks like a duck, whatever, flaps its wings like a duck, has a beak like a, bill like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. You can sort of work that out, can't you? But it's been that sort of thing where you've had to use your intuition. Maybe you've had to, maybe a sly and subtle approach has been needed to some degree, maybe. But you've had to go by how you feel, with the gut feeling. And that's what you're doing now, you're going with your gut feeling right now. Maybe because of that sort of defeat that you experienced just recently, that sense of confusion, that sense of distress that you recently experienced. Maybe you feel the only person you can trust is yourself, really. Why do I sort of get a feeling as though you've placed your trust in somebody or something, and it's sort of, I don't know, the Five of Cups is the Lord of Disappointment, but of course it's just, nevertheless, a loss. Five is loss. Back to the Five of Swords again in your recent past. The Five is loss of creative and transmissive powers, a loss of communication, a communication breakdown maybe just recently, and it was all based upon this heartache that you had. Maybe you've still got that in the back of your mind, and you sort of feel as though maybe you're afraid that defeat, you're afraid that maybe, you're afraid that the confusion that you recently experienced was because of the heartache having an effect on you, and of course a feeling of letting somebody down again. We're back to that again. So now you're using your intuition. Why do I get this feeling as though the moon goddess, in the sense of you having to use your intuition and things? I always tend to say, I don't know if you ask yourself the question, you'd probably ask yourself the same question I do when I've tried sort of relying on everybody bloody else. You end up saying, why is it that I have to end up doing everything me bloody self? After trying to rely on others and sort of trust other people, or trust others to sort of help matters along, or whatever, I end up having to do it all me bloody self anyway because they don't do it right. I suppose in a way it's a bit like moderating a group on Facebook, isn't it? You rely on the moderators to do the work for you, in the sense of, delete the relevant posts or delete the ones that aren't relevant, and they end up letting all the bloody idiots in. So you end up having to go on and delete the bloody things that they've let in after all, don't you? So it's as if, why do I have to do everything my bloody self? This is the thing, and maybe that's what you're experiencing now, isn't it? Where you're having to sort of use your own bloody intuition because everybody else is just a bloody load of crap. But it will be, because they're not you and they don't know exactly what you're after. They can only sort of based upon what you tell them, and if there's a communication breakdown, which there has been recently, then maybe it's that's the confusion and the distrust that you've recently experienced has sort of marred your judgment. Is that the right terminology? I want to move on now to the next card, because this is an important card, and then this will be an interesting one in the sense that the energy that vibrates here right now is the present obstacle. As in the 10 card spread, the ancient 10 card spread, it goes across as if to overshadow the present, like that. but we would just place it next to it, because we're just going in a row, aren't we? With the 7 card. Let's see what that one is, and let's see what the present obstacle is. What is overshadowing the present? Why are you having to use your intuition, tune into the feminine side, and probably listen to your higher self? Well, isn't that a revelation, but not surprising? Another major arcana card. You can see that, can't you? The Tower, the energy of the Tower. Again, a draconian and forceful energy, Aries, something taking control. Of course, an event that really you have got no control over at all, and it's in the way. It's draconian, it's forceful, and then the Crowley tends to sort of depict the Eye of Horus striking the tower, and then the garrison fall, and I always usually say the ones at the top fall the furthest. And in some decks you've got a picture of a tower, and you've got windows in it and a door, and I always look at the focus on the door, as if to say, is that a doorway into hell, or is it a sort of gateway out of it, an exit from it? It all depends, doesn't it? Whether it being a closed door, is it holding those in there prisoner, and their only way out is to jump, or is it locked, or is it unlocked and they can just get out anyway? What's going on? The ancient title for the tower is War. War. That's what it says, War. And then, like as in the Crowley deck, you have the serpent and you have the dove, and that's based upon with the Eye of Horus striking the tower, the garrison sort of falling, whatever, and the dragon's breath consuming them, I suppose. Maybe that's what this is a crude depiction of, I don't know. The serpent and the dove, of course, it gives you a choice of either war or peace, of either conflict or peace, and that's why it was originally called War. It's a bit like we all know the Shakespeare, the Hamlet, to be or not to be, that is the question. And actually the original was to be or not to be, aye, that's the point. And this is a similar sort of thing where that is the question that was originally, aye, that's the point. The tower was originally war. But it has the same connotations, the same interpretation to it. And it really indicates when, I suppose, when we place it across the present, as we would in an ancient 10 card, or a Celtic, as often is referred to. Although the ancient 10 card is the past and the future, whereas the ancient 10 card is distant past, recent past, whatever. Recent past, distant past, recent past, it goes round in a circle. But it's either way, it's the same layout. But the one we place it across there, as if it's overshadowing the present like that, you could sort of look at that and say, yes, a draconian force, a force, something that's giving you no choice. You're having to use the energy of the high priest. You're having to use necromancy. You're having to use the seer within you, I suppose. You're having to use your intuition because of that. and you're trying to overcome. It's an obstacle, isn't it? So it's what you're trying to overcome, and it's where the Eye of Horus has struck the tower and the garrison has fallen. Something has struck your tower. In some, like the 1JJ deck, I was tend to focus on some shrubs in the tarot of Marcel, whatever, that has like 3, but I tend to focus on the one with the 1, as if there's a little shrub that's growing by the tower, and although the tower has been struck by the lightning from the Eye of Horus, which itself, the Eye of Horus, symbolises sort of regeneration, doesn't it, in the sense of, or restoration, in the sense it's the eye that Horus, that was plucked out in battle, and the magician restored it again, so it represents restoration in that sense. But I was tend to focus on like a shrub in some decks, although everything seems to have been struck. The garrison falls, or everything breaks down and brings downfall. Nevertheless, the little shrub there, or seedling there, it symbolises new growth. So in the midst of, sometimes in the midst of death, we are in the midst of life or in death. In this sort of way, in the midst of turmoil, there is nevertheless new growth. A bit like pruning a bush, isn't it? I suppose you could view it that way, but this is a bit more, I suppose, a bit more serious than pruning. It seems as though, yes, there has been a downfall, a major downfall taking place now, and that is overshadowing your goal, or whatever it is you're aiming to do. You know, how you're aiming to move forward there with it. I want to take a look here at the present outcome, how things will pan out right now. Not so much what's going to happen in the immediate future. We can study that in just a moment. But what is the present outcome? What is the outlook, given this whatever struck your tower? I mean, it could be just something as simple like when you're having trouble with AT&T or whatever it was. If your communication break down, I mean, okay, we don't go sort of literally into that sense that, well, the internet isn't working or whatever, but you can read into something as much as you want. But I do sort of get as the feeling as though there has been a communication breakdown just recently, although right from the past it's to do with some heartache that you're trying to satisfy somebody else, or somebody else who isn't here anymore. But nevertheless, that's neither here nor there. Your aspirations are positive. You want to make something of this, and you want to be a multi-millionaire, but in the midst of it, your tower has been struck, as if to just remind you that it's not going to be that easy. I want to see what's the outlook of the present, because only the outlook of the present, but you could say it's the past, present and future within the present, isn't it, in a way. Let's just rotate that for you there, Frank, and let's just see. Oh, there's an interesting card for you. Another major arcana card, the Lovers. This is an interesting one, isn't it? Gemini, that sort of indicates partnership. Maybe not, more domestic, I suppose. It focuses on twin soul, it focuses on reverence. Notice the eagle there again. Often in a traditional deck, it's Cupid pointing the arrow at the lovers, and the serpent there symbolises, sometimes it's a person standing third party, as that Is it does it symbolise a priest consecrating the relationship, as in the marriage, or is it a witch, or sort of helping along, or is it the devil tempting the lovers? It's an interesting way of looking at it, that, isn't it? It tends to focus though here on domestic issues, with it being the lovers. Although you've got this obstacle of downfall, this draconian energy, this forceful energy, is giving you no choice to doing what you've got to do right now because of whatever. Nevertheless, the lovers is there, as if that's the outcome of the present, as if somehow either a relationship will start up or something. I honestly don't know what that's about. It's just come straight out the blue, hasn't it? Obviously the lovers symbolises a domestic affair. Usually, of course, in any love affair, that's an important decision, isn't it? That symbolises an important decision. You have to decide, well, yay or nay, whether to tie the knot or not, as you'd say. And maybe that sort of is implying that this particular goal of yours is, I suppose, a form of relationship or love affair. I don't know. You were on about the person you wanted to go into a partnership with, the business partnership with, but nevertheless, it sort of implies that the outcome of the present, of course, is what's happening now. The outcome of the present sort of indicates that an important domestic decision, nevertheless, will be made. Now, if that's a love affair type decision, or it's a bog standard sort of domestic decision, maybe I sort of get as though it's more. It's just more your domestic situation and the way you're living. You have to make some decision. Say, for example, when somebody changes a job, they have to decide whether to move into another town or city or whatever. And it's an important decision because they're used to living where they are and they know everybody, they know all the local hangouts, all the haunts and everything where they normally go. And it's that. And I got a sort of feeling it's a similar sort of thing to that, but you're going to find this energy, this thing right now, this obstacle, where the Eye of Horus strikes and your garrison has fallen, is going to force you into making that decision. That's how I'm getting that. It's not that you're going to be falling in love and everybody's going to be happily ever after or anything like that. They never are, even when they are they? But it's certainly pointing toward the fact that a decision that you've got to make at the end of this, the outcome of the present right now, of course, is you've got to make that decision. And it's an important one because it's to do with your domestic situation. Be that with or without a lover or whatever, that's of course your business, but either way. It's an important decision. So, as I sort of get as though, I don't know if you were sort of getting from it, where the partnership it's a business you want to be in with this person or whatever, you it's sort of like saying you've got to make an important decision about maybe having to move out of town or doing something with that business that's profound in the sense of it's beyond the norm. How can I say? About like you say, you know, well, you've got too many friends on Facebook. It's a bit like saying you've got to change from Facebook and go on another platform. Or I'm not saying it's that, I'm just saying it's similar sort of thing. That sort of thing, where you've got to change direction a bit. Although keeping your goal in mind, following your intuition nevertheless. But of course, this thing that struck your tower right now, either be high bills or, yes, okay, we could say AT&T screwing you up, but that's neither here nor there. That thing comes and goes, doesn't it? You can get that sorted out, but that's neither here nor there. When the dust has settled, as you could say, after the tower has fallen, then the shrubs, the seedling starts growing again as the sunlight shines through in the day, and then of course what comes of that? Do you water it? What do you water it with? Do you fertilise it in what way? This is the sort of decision. I sort of get so similar to like that, isn't it? How do you feed it to keep it going? And that's the sort of domestic decision, a bit like how do you feed a relationship to keep that going, and how do you feed the family unit to keep that all in one piece, how do you keep a marriage together. And I sort of get it's a similar sort of thing to that. But of course it's related to the question you've asked. So if a girlfriend does come your way, then she may do, but it won't really be anything to do with it unless you go in partnership with her instead. I don't know. That's what was on my mind, but it sort of went off my mind. But nevertheless, I don't know. Are you going to go into partnership with somebody a bit closer to? A bit closer. We had heartache in the recent past, but I sort of sense as though that's something more to do with, you know, a relative or somebody, you know. We've covered that. I want to move on now to the immediate future, which is in a period of time between now and this time next month. You could say about a moon phase ahead, couldn't you? Let's just see what that's all about. I'm going to flip this card here. We'll just do it nice and slow there, not to disturb the energy, and we'll just see. Oh, look at this, another Major Arcana card. And although as Major Arcana cards don't give you much choice in situations where you've got 3 Major Arcana cards right now, you've got a Major Arcana card and the Major Arcana energy, as you would say, for the immediate future. And look at that, it's the Wheel of Fortune. In some decks, the Wheel of Fortune's got Sagittarius, Leo and Aries attached to that one. Very, very, very interesting that, isn't it? Looks like your luck being in, but certainly in a lot of decks, the Wheel of Fortune is turned by a blindfolded woman. It just indicates that time has, you know, it doesn't control what's on the wheel. Assuming that the wheel is going around clockwise there, you could say, well, are you getting on the wheel at, say, I don't know, about 7 o'clock, going up to 9 o'clock, then 10 o'clock, around about 11 o'clock doing well, really well, and then at 12 o'clock reaching the peak of your career or your achievements, becoming that multi-millionaire as though you want to be. And then about 1 o'clock things are waning, 2, 3, about 3, and then around about after 3 o'clock, 3:30 to 4 o'clock, you're holding on, and then around about 5 o'clock you fall off into the abyss. if you get what I mean. So it's the cycle, isn't it? It just really symbolises cycles. This tends to focus on like the pterosaurs, as though things were planned right from the beginning, as though the pterosaur up to the moth, or whatever, one thing evolves into another, but both are effectively the same. They're both related, aren't they? Or the bird is related to the pterosaur. It's just evolved or become something different, as if a bit like your career is sort of primitive now, and then as it goes around it becomes and evolves into something different, although it may not be what you expect it or want it to be. Nevertheless, it will be different. It will manifest itself into something different. Between now and this time next month, I don't know about anything major happening there, but certainly with it being a major arcana energy, it would assume, it would imply as though the Wheel of Fortune turns and you won't be able to change it. You won't have a power to change it. Yes, you'll have decisions, you'll have choices, you'll be able to choose what you want to do, but a bit like how the Tower gives you, or War as it originally is, how that sort of still gives you a choice of war or peace, but nevertheless the breakdown, that which collapses right now, you've got no choice, or no power to stop it. You've got no power to stop the important decision that you've got to make, sort of around between now and now. If you get what I mean, sort of now and say next week or something like that. It's sort of close to now as you can, now and nowish. Whereas around about between now and sort of June, sort of like you know, the 8th of June and whatever as now is, you will be fate will sort of play a role. Now, here's an interesting thing, because although this symbolises fate and cycles and things like that, do you believe in fate or do you believe in destiny? That's an interesting question you can ask yourself. I suppose, of course, with the future not happening yet, we still have power over it. Or do we? There are certain things in life that we don't have power over, such as birth. Well, we might have power over that to some degree, but of course death we've got no power, and taxes, I suppose. But other than that, taxes and corrupt governments, we've got no power over them. Although we have, I suppose, we can vote them out or in. But either way, we've got no power over death, have we? And time, of course. Time. It tends to really be the cycles. It tends to focus on time, which is a limited resource, isn't it? Really. You've got very little of it. When you think you're dead longer than you're living. And although that's sort of said flippantly, nevertheless, it does bring back memories of who it is that is no longer here, but you're trying to nevertheless not let them down. Although they can't experience non-existence and be worried about it, or even, of course, even though they're in spirit, not sort of giving two hoots, I suppose, not now anyway. Nevertheless, it always bothers those left behind than it does those who are sort of rest. And this is what I'm sort of getting, like this sort of great expectation thing. Is it going to be? Is it not? Or what the hell is going on? I suppose really, I'm not saying the question should have been the intent behind wanting to become multi-millionaire and rolling in money, because everybody does. We play the lottery to do that. We work hard and hope that something comes along. We work hard until we win the lottery or something like that happens. And it's question is he realistic? I want to now pull the next card and I want to see what the final result is. You could say sort of the distant future or the or whatever, couldn't you, in the sense of how things will all pan out, a bit like how the Lovers gives you the sort of important decision that important domestic decision you've got to make sort of nowish, sort of just after now. And this is the sort of after the immediate future, after fate runs its cycles, and after things evolve and change as they do. And although you are a sort of wayfarer on the wheel of time, aren't you? It's up to you what you do throughout that journey. If you're on a train going from A to B, you can go up to the buffet car and have a meal. You can go, if it's a long journey, you can go and lie down and rest for overnight, or go into the bar and have a drink, according to what type of train it is. And it's a similar sort of thing, isn't it, really, I suppose. Let's just see what a minor arcana card. This is going to give you power to sort of change the outcome, at least. Now, isn't that an interesting card? If it is what it is, I think it is, and it is the Nine of Cups. The Wish card is often referred to. That's an interesting turn up for the books, in the sense of basically that's the whole sort of essence of what it's all been about anyway. Wishes and desires. I mean, it doesn't... It seems as though as fate runs its course between now and sort of, you know, the 8th of June or whatever, for the next month or so, the next moon phase or whatever you want to call it, the overall outcome will leave you with more desires and more wishes, will leave you longing for more. As if we want to be a multi-millionaire and rolling in money. Will this business venture work? And will I go into business with such and such a body and end up rolling in money? I don't must mean $1 million, I mean multi-million dollars. And this really is indicating, really, I suppose, from a dark sort of angle, you'll end up you'll end up at the end of this in the same position as you are now, where you'll be still wishing for more. Now, if you get the more that you want, is very, I wouldn't say unlikely, but certainly very unlikely, but nevertheless not impossible. With the Wheel of Fortune there, maybe having a bit of positive good luck and a sort of good luck attached to it. But if you do make anything big, and it won't be a multi-million, but if you do make anything big, it will be pure chance or pure luck. Maybe at somebody else's expense, of course it'd have to be, but it will leave you in a position where you will be wishing for more. You will desire even more. Why I'm sort of thinking of excess here, in the sense of, I suppose the negative side of this could be greed, couldn't it? And even if you did get the multi-millions, you'd still want even more. You'd want multi-billions. But of course, as time goes on, we get older, and as we grow older, then it doesn't matter how much we've got, we'd give everything for one more day. If we're on our deathbed in a sort of hospital somewhere, or in palliative care over something, so you have to sort of say, am I grateful for I've got me health, and I've got a roof over me head, food in me belly, a pot to piss in, or do I say I want something more than that? Why I'm sort of sensing here is though not so much greed but more disappointment. Although the Five of Cups hasn't sort of turned up, you'll end up in a position where you will be wishing for more, desiring more. So it's like a pattern. you sort of make the important decision that you want. Will you go into partnership, into business partnership with this person you were on about? Maybe you'll go into partnership, but not with the person you want to go into partnership with. I got a funny feeling it may have something to do with a relationship, being in partnership with a female colleague, or even as part of a family unit or something. Maybe, I don't know. Why I'm getting that, I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I hope I am for your sake. I don't know. But nevertheless, whatever the lovers represents, it represents an important domestic decision that you are inevitably going to have to make. You've got no choice. You have to do that because of that which has struck your tower, because of the eye of Horus that struck your tower and brought your garrison down. Using your intuition right now, yes. But for what end? So that fate and cycles can run their course, and that things can evolve, maybe, yes, change, but not necessarily into what, and manifest itself into what you want, which will leave you desiring, which will leave you desirous, as you would say, or will leave you wishing for what you didn't get. Does that sort of point toward disappointment? That's a very interesting question, isn't it? But it really does open up more questions than it does answers, doesn't it? And that is really where we can probably just leave it for now. As maybe, just maybe, the approach is a bit fantasy, maybe could be fantasy, but nevertheless one does want to wish for the best, but one's greed can be the one, even if one did. I got a funny feeling as though if you did become a multi-millionaire, you'd still want more, you'd want multi-billions. But either way, whatever you get from this, however things evolve in the next 3 or 4 weeks or so, and whatever they evolve and manifest themselves into, wherever on the wheel you find yourself, you will be wanting more, desiring more, even though you may get twice as much as you've ever had before in your whole life. And it's this, is it a form of, I don't know, is it a feeling as though you're still letting somebody down, even though, but it's, I don't know where we go from here, Frank, because for now I sort of sense that these cards have spoken.